Aloha, e como mai. Welcome to Kupono Music Studio. My name is Marty Kluth, and today we're going to learn about chord inversions. Okay, now you might ask, what is a chord inversion? Well, chord inversion is when we take the member notes of a chord and we play them in a different order in order to make it either easier or more convenient to play the chord. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to start today with the left hand. We tend to play chords more often in the left hand than the right hand, so we're going to learn the left hand first. Now we're going to start in the standard C position with the 5 finger on C, 3 finger on E, 1 finger on G, standard C triad chord that we've been using for the last couple videos. Now, when we have this chord in this position with every other finger on every other note, this is what we call root position. Okay, because the main note, in this case C, is on the bottom or lowest position of the chord. If I take my hand and I move it up so that my 5 finger is on the note F, as we've done in the last song, this is an F root position chord because F is on the bottom and every other finger is on every other note. Same thing if I move that 5 finger up to the note G, this is a root position G chord. Now, we're going to use a root position C for this exercise, but we're going to start to try inverting the other chords, all right? So let's start. We're going to start with our F chord. So I'm going to come up here to the F chord. Now, the notes in the F chord are F, A, and C, all right? Now, the idea of inversion tells us that we can take these notes and play them in any order. So instead of playing them in the order F, A, C, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this C off the top and I'm going to substitute my fingers down so I can hold on to both of those notes, F and A, and I'm going to use my pinky to put the C on the bottom over here. Now instead of playing F, A, C, I'm playing C, F, A, but those are still the same letters. So long as we have the same letters, we have the same chord. You can play them in any order. I can play C, F, A. I can play F, A, C. I can even play A, C, F, okay? So what we're going to do for this particular exercise is we're going to do that first thing. We're going to take that C off the top. We're going to substitute our fingers down so we can still have the F and the A. We're going to use our pinky on the bottom to put the C over there. And we're going to play the F chord in inversion. We've just inverted it. We've turned it upside down. Okay, now how do we get here? Okay, now let's take a look at that. Let me go back to root position C. Here's root position C chord. It's at the C, 3 finger on E, 1 finger on G. Now, we want to go back to F. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that number 2 finger and I'm going to put it down on the note F and I'm going to pick my 3 finger up. So I'm going to trade my 2 finger for my 3 finger, just like that. Then I'm going to take this thumb and I'm going to stretch it up 1 note to the letter A. All right, now I'm playing the fingers 5 and 2 and 1 on C and F and A. Let's hear it all together. Now, let me switch back to C. I'm going to go back to the 3 finger and I'm going to bring this thumb back down 1 note. There's the C chord. Now watch that a couple of times. Here's the F chord. Put the 2 down and stretch the 1. To go back to C, put the 3 down and bring the 1 back. 2 and stretch the 1 up to F, 3 and bring it back down to C. All right, now you try it. Pause the video and work on moving your fingers and stretching your thumb so you can move from root position C chord to F inversion. Did you try it? Fantastic. Let's keep going. Now, we've got our C chord and we've got our inverted F chord. Now the third chord that we've been using has been the G chord, okay? But for this exercise, we're going to do a little variation on the G chord. Let's have a look. Here's root position G chord with the 5 finger on the bottom on the note G, and every other finger on every other note, G, B, and D. Now, we're going to add a note to this. Instead of doing every other finger on every other note for 3 notes, we're going to do it on every other note for 4 notes. And I'm going to add the thumb, another skip above the last note. So now we're playing the notes G and B and D and F. Now this chord is called a G7 chord. It's called a 7 because this note F is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes above the G. So we play all the members of the G chord and add this 7th. Now we have a little bit fancier chord, a 4-note chord, all right? Even though there's 4 notes in the chord, we can still invert it, okay? So we're going to peel notes off the top and stick them on the bottom. Let's try. Instead of playing this F up here, I'm going to substitute my fingers down and I'm going to put the F on the bottom. That's still the same chord. I'm going to peel this D off the top. I'm going to substitute my fingers down and use my pinky to put that D on the bottom. That's still the same G7 chord. One more time. Let's take that B off the top, substitute the fingers down, and I'm going to put that B on the bottom with the pinky. And that's still the same G7 chord. Now, let's make it just a little bit easier, okay? We're going to take this 3 finger that's playing the D and we're just going to leave that out, okay? Now the reason why we're leaving that out is really just to make it a little bit easier, and also it doesn't sound that different. Here it is with the D and here it is without the D. It's not that different, so let's make it a little bit easier and just play 3 notes. It's still the same chord, it's just a little thinner version of that chord, okay? So let's take a look. What notes are we left with? We've got our pinky on B, and then we've got our 2 finger on F, and our thumb right next door on G, and a little pinch up there, okay? Now, how do we get back to the C chord? Well, let's try. Let's start from the C chord. There's our root position C. Now we know we need a B and an F and a G. Well, F is the easy one. That's where we put the 2 finger down and pick the 3 finger up again. There it is. But this time, instead of moving the thumb, we're going to take the pinky, the 5 finger, and stretch it down 1 note to B. So now we have B and a little pinch of our 2 and our 1 fingers on F and G. Here's what it sounds like together. There's your G7 chord. Now how do we get back to C? Well, let's bring that pinky back first. Boom, there it is on C. And we'll trade back to our 3 finger. And we're back to C. Let's watch that change a couple of times. Put the 2 down and stretch the 5. Now to come back, bring the pinky back and go back to 3. So 2 and stretch the 5. Then bring it back and 3. 2 and stretch the 5. Bring it back and 3. All right, now you try it. Pause the video and let's get this alternate fingering on the G7 chord and restart when you're ready. Did you try it? All right, let's go on to the next thing. We need to do both these F and G inversion chords at the same time. So let's look at what we call a chord progression. And that's just a series of different chords in a row. Let's start with C. So we're in root position C. Now the first thing we want to do is stretch up to F. So I'm going to put the 2 finger down and stretch my thumb up 1 note. And there's that F chord on C, F, A. Now I'm going to go back to C. So I have a nice solid bass. Now I'm going to go straight to the other chord, the G7. I'm going to put that 2 finger down again, but this time I'm going to stretch the pinky. And there's the G7. Now I'm going to come right back home to C by bringing that pinky back and switching back to 3. So that is the progression. It's the chords. C up to F, back to C, then stretch down to G7, and come back to C. All right, here it is one more time. All right, now you try it. Pause the video and work on moving both up to the F chord and down to the G7 chord and back to the C root position chord, and then restart when you're ready. Did you try it? Awesome. Okay, now what we do in one hand, we have to do in the other hand, so let's learn a little bit about how to do these chords in the right hand, okay? We're going to get right in here with the right hand in the middle C position and fingers 1 and 3 and 5 on C and E and G. Now, when we did the left hand, we put our 2 finger down to get that F and we stretched our thumb. In the right hand, it works a little better if we just take both these 3 and 5 fingers and just stretch them up 1 note. And there we are on F and A, and the thumb just stays in position on C. And then to come back, we just take those same top 2 fingers and move them back down to E and G again. Let's take a look at that. And then I stretch them up, and I can bring them back down, up and down. Okay, now for the G7 chord, we had the left hand, it had the pinky stretched and a little pinch of the 1 and 2. While in the right hand, that little pinch is going to be the 4 and 5 fingers, and we'll be stretching the thumb down to the note B. Looks like this. There it is. Here's our B, and here's our little pinch. Now to come back to C, bring the thumb back and switch back to the 3 finger. So here's from C to G7. Okay, now let's put the whole progression together. Starting with C, then we're going to move both fingers up for the F chord, bring them back down to C. Now pinch that 4 and 5 finger and stretch your thumb, G7, and then bring it back to C. Okay, so that's how we do it in the right hand. Once you can do it in the right hand, you want to practice being able to do it with both hands. So let's take a look at what that is. Here's C root position. Now in the left hand, I'm going to use the 2 finger and stretch the thumb. In the right hand, I'm just going to move them both up. And there's our F chord in both hands. Now I'm going to switch back to 3 finger and bring my thumb down, and up here in the right hand, I'm just going to bring both fingers down. There's the next C one. Now, in the left hand, I'm going to pinch 1 and 2 and stretch the pinky. In the right hand, I'm going to pinch 4 and 5 and stretch the thumb. There's that G7 chord. Then I'm going to bring that bottom finger back and go back to the 3 finger in both hands. C root position to finish. Here's the whole thing together. Okay, now you try it. Pause the video and work on playing your right hand. And when you can play that right hand, try to add the left hand to it and then restart when you're ready. Did you try it? All right, let's just sum up for today. All right, so what we learned about today are chord inversions. That's when we take the notes of a chord and play them in a different order so that it can be easier or more convenient or both. We learned about the chords C and F and G, playing C in the root position with the main note C on the bottom and the fingers in the position every other finger on every other note. And then we played an inversion of the F chord where we put our 2 finger down and stretched our thumb, and then went back to the C chord, and then to do the G7 chord where we put our 2 finger down and stretched the 5, then came back to C. We also learned how to do that in the right hand, starting with root position C, stretching both fingers at the top up to play F and A, then bringing them back down for C, then doing a little pinch with our 4 and 5 fingers and stretching our thumb for for the G7 chord and coming back to C. And we learned how to do that together. Both hands stretch up, come back to C. Both hands stretch down and come back to C. All right, here's what it sounds like a little faster. Okay, so I urge you to practice this exercise with hands separately first, okay, so that you can get the patterns into your fingers. This is going to be the first time that we've started trying to use other fingers besides 1 and 3 and 5 to play a chord. We're using the 2 finger in the left hand and we're using the 4 finger in the right hand, so that's going to take a little getting used to. So be patient with yourself and just take your time, do the hands separately until you feel like you got it, then challenge yourself to put them together and do different motions at the same time, okay? And then as you get better at that, push yourself to do them faster and faster. And I urge you, as you listen to the other music in your life, to start to recognize when you hear these chords maybe being played in inversion with different notes in different orders. It's very common, and hopefully you'll be able to recognize that in the music that you see around you and listen to. Have a great day. Mahalo for learning with us today. If you haven't already, please click subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll be the first to know about our new videos. We invite you to like and share this video. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, so follow us there for regular updates on what's new at Kupono Music Studio. If you'd like to continue learning with us, click join and become a member so you can access all of our videos for any ability level. YouTube and Patreon members get added benefits like lesson documentation, bonus videos, and more. And check our website for all the latest information about programs at our studio in Maui, Hawaii. All the links are in the video description. Come make music with us anytime. Aloha.